Students, welcome. Thank you for being here. Families, if you're joining us as well, thanks for making time this evening. Welcome to the virtual college exploration for all Missouri students, sponsored by the Missouri Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. My name is Christine Holliday. I'm a college counselor at St. Joseph's Academy in St. Louis, Missouri, and we're really glad that you're here this evening. Just a few quick housekeeping things before we get started and I turn things over to our presenter. You may be wondering how you can ask questions during the session. There is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, kind of in the middle. It looks like a talk bubble, and you can certainly use that throughout the session to get your questions answered. We do have two great students joining us as well from the University of Notre Dame, so you'll have lots of perspectives to ask and to inquire of. Your camera and microphone are going to remain off throughout the course of the session, so our panelists cannot see or hear you. And this is just one of the many different sessions that's being offered throughout the course of the StriveScan Fair. We encourage you to check out all of the various sessions from various institutions and the full schedule at MOACAC, that's MOACAC.org. This session is also being recorded and will be available about a week after at that exact same website, moacac.org. With that, I'm going to turn my camera off and turn things over to you. You guys have a great.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you. We're going to start with introductions and then we'll move into our presentation. My name is Mary DeVilliers and I serve as a program director within the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at the University of Notre Dame. And I'm going to have my colleague Zach introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. My name is Zach Lenzinski. I'm an assistant director in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at Notre Dame. I cover kind of the western part of the state, Kansas City area for us in the office. Originally from Belgrade, Montana, but I am a graduate of the university in 2017. So enjoyed my time at Notre Dame so much, I just stayed until they started paying me, which is pretty great. Well, go ahead, Preston, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Preston Chen. I'm a sophomore business analytics and applied math major from St. Louis, Missouri. I went to Parkway Central High School, and I currently live in Carroll Hall, one of the smallest dorms on campus, and enjoyed my time here in South Bend.
And hi, everybody. My name is Molly Grazadek. I am a sophomore. I'm majoring in marketing in the Mendoza College of Business. I live in Walsh Hall, which is, I think, the smallest girls' hall on campus. That's kind of weird. I also grew up in St. Louis. I went to Villa de Chêne for high school, class of 2019. And yeah, I couldn't be enjoying my time here more.
Great. Thank you both so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can move into our PowerPoint. As we go through our presentation today, we really encourage you to put your questions into the Q&A, and we hope to get to all of them if possible. We also will be taking time at the end for questions, and we will have some questions for our students to answer as we go through our presentation. But first of all, we just wanted to give you an overview of the University of Notre Dame. We know some of you may be very familiar and some of you may be learning about us maybe for the first time or maybe a little bit more in depth for the first time. We are a medium-sized Catholic research university. We're located about 2 hours east of Chicago. We have 8,500 undergraduate students and about 3,300 graduate students. Important thing to know about Notre Dame is just what a national and global university it is. Our students are coming from all throughout the United States, as well as 80 different countries. And when they arrive on our campus, we immediately want to give them a sense of home, a sense of belonging, and a sense of purpose. I'm going to turn to Zach to speak about our community at the university.
Yeah, so thanks, Mary. And what she said about we immediately give you a sense of home at Notre Dame speaks largely to our residence hall structure. I won't say it's unique because I think that word is probably overused in the college process, but I will say that the residence halls are a little bit different at Notre Dame than you're going to find at most institutions. So here we have about 33 single-sex residence halls. They have first years through seniors within them. So you're randomly assigned a first-year dorm, randomly assigned a first-year roommate, but about 95% of our students will stay in or affiliated with their same dorm all 4 years on campus. Each dorm has its own mascot, its own hall government. You'll notice both Preston and Molly introduce themselves by including what dorm they lived in, because that's really a part of the Notre Dame intro. It really helps you get to know, where are these people that I'm meeting from on campus? What are their experiences? Do I know anyone in their dorm that I can connect with them very quickly as well? So while we do have more than 500 student clubs and organizations on our campus, and you're certainly going to find your communities elsewhere in the things that you're heavily and passionately involved in, the dorm communities are one of those places where we give you that from the moment you step on campus. And we want you to feel like you always have a home from the moment you come here to Notre Dame. And so I know Molly's been a little bit involved in her dorm, so I'll go ahead and toss it over to her real quick just to share a little bit of what she's doing in Walsh.
Yeah, so I think Walsh it shares with a lot of dorms the fact that it has a hall council. So like a lot of different groups on campus, it has a president and a vice president and kind of like a leadership community that is responsible for planning. It is really cool because they reach out to the younger girls in the hall like myself and like some of the first years even, and they create committees. Like some girls are on the dance committee because, you know, Walsh has 2 dances every year, so does every dorm on campus. So you can really reach out and get involved in so many different things because there's a million different things to do in the dorms. There's dances, there's littler events to be planned, there's field trips, there's, you know, retreats. So you can really kind of find your space within your space. And yeah, it's really cool because you can get involved in something new every single year. And it's not so overwhelming that it takes you away from any other activities you want to take part in, but it's just a really great way to get to know the people that you live with.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. And I'll add one of the things I didn't say was that you can actually inter-hall sports for your dorm. That's a really big piece of the student experience at Notre Dame. I'd say, I think the numbers from the rec sports that we received this year were a little over half of our student body participated in at least one kind of intramural or inter-hall sport in the last full academic year. So it's very much a culture of the university. You can, again, kind of play sports for your dorm too. So that's a lot of fun as well. So we're going to make sure that you feel like you have a community, feel like you have a sense of belonging from the moment you step on campus. Mary? All right. So as Mary mentioned, we are a Catholic institution. That is very important to us. You actually saw the Golden Dome, kind of our signature building on campus on that first slide. And you'll see there's a 22-foot high golden statue of Mary. So she is really 22 feet high. Then you'll also have seen the Basilica of Sacred Heart. It is an active Catholic church right on our campus too, right in the heart of our campus. It is probably the most beautiful building on campus as well. And so we are a Catholic institution. All told, there's about 160 daily masses on Notre Dame's campus each week, another 40 to 50 Sunday masses as well. These will take place, every dorm has a chapel, almost every academic building also has a chapel as well. And so you really are able to kind of pursue that faith at Notre Dame and really be able to engage in that side of yourself and grow in that way. If, for example, Notre Dame football, which you may have also heard of, decides to play a night game against a heated rival, say Michigan or something, and Notre Dame wins, of course, and then campus is really excited into the early hours of Sunday morning even, you don't have to try and get up for an 8 a.m. or a 10 a.m. Sunday Mass, because in the dorms, Masses are at student-friendly times. They're at 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. The dress code is basically wear clothing. We really want you to feel like you can be a part of that and let Notre Dame be kind of what you need spiritually. Tied to that is the fact that about 80% of Notre Dame undergraduates will engage in service while they're here at the university, even though there's absolutely no service requirements. This can take the shape of getting involved in the local South Bend community, going back into, for example, the St. Louis or other communities around Missouri, during a summer or during a break and doing some sort of projects there, or elsewhere around the United States and even the world. So I know there's a lot of really great opportunities for students to engage in their own kind of projects, as well as get involved in organizations that are also serving local communities. I know, Preston, you're part of one that I'd love to hear about a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. So I work for a nonprofit called Jiffy, which battles predatory loan sharks in the South Bend area. And I've had this great privilege to work with them over the last 2 years. Just being able to go back into the South Bend community and really help out and make an impact there has been an extremely important part of my experience at Notre Dame so far. It also has helped me to develop some career skills as well as some leadership and being able to work in teams. And it's been a great time.
Yeah, Jiffy is one of my favorite organizations on campus. That's just JIFFI. If you're looking, just Google Notre Dame Jiffy. That's a great program. I've had a lot of friends actually when I was an undergraduate who worked with it too. And yeah, as Preston said, it's a really needed service too in a lot of communities that are often preyed upon by like those loan sharks as Preston mentioned. So, Mary.
Great. So I'm going to lead into talking about the academic experience at the University of Notre Dame. For those of you who are very much sure about what you want to study, and for those of you who are maybe not that sure or have multiple areas you're interested in, at Notre Dame, we really want to give you flexibility, especially in the first year. We take the first year at Notre Dame very seriously because we recognize what a big transition it will be for students to come into our academic environment, as well as adjusting to be in the university setting. You have a dedicated first-year advisor who's going to work with you from before you arrive on campus, helping you choose those first few classes for the semester, and then as a touch point throughout the year. What's really exciting is that you don't have to declare your major until the end of the first year. And during that first year, you can start to take classes that may feed into your major, or you might take classes from our core curriculum that will help guide you in your discernment of what it is you do want to focus in. At the end of the first year, you would declare your major and move into one of the colleges at our university and have your advising then be part of that college. Students can do double majors and minors across the colleges, so our students can come up with some really great combinations, like Preston's, as he mentioned to you. He's been able to match up all of his interests across the colleges. What's really great, as you can see on the screen, is that we're very successful in helping students form a sense of home and succeed academically. 98% retention rate really speaks for itself in terms of not only student success, but also student satisfaction at the university. That may come from the size of our classes. As you can tell from the numbers, a majority of them are going to be small enough to foster a lot of really great discussion. And with such a great diversity of students at Notre Dame, you're going to learn a lot, not only from your professor, who is your direct instructor of all of your classes in terms of faculty interaction, but also these great diverse set of students in your classes that all have different viewpoints, different experiences, and you all can learn from one another as well as what you're studying in the class. Another great opportunity by having our faculty be your direct instructors and by having these great interactive classes with them is that you form really solid relationships. This can lead to mentoring opportunities, this can lead to really great recommendation letters for further study, but it can also lead to faculty-led research opportunities. A lot of our students report that they have a lot of ease in engaging with their faculty members to find research opportunities, but there's also a center on our campus called CUSE, which is the Center for Undergraduate Scholarly Engagement, and CUSE is a great place to learn how to compete for grants that are going to allow the funding for you to do self-directed research anywhere in the world. Zach and I were comparing notes on the great research projects that we've heard of. One of my favorites was a girl who is originally from Kolkata, India, and during her fall break, she got a grant to go home during fall break for a very special festival in her hometown, and then study the environmental impact of that festival on the city itself. And all of her travel, all of her research expenses were covered with her grant. Zach, do you want to share one of your favorites?
Yeah, one of my favorites, actually, a student from Kansas City. She's currently a sophomore at Notre Dame as well, but during her first year, she is studying Chinese. She's very passionate about the language and learning about the culture. And she actually received a grant from the Liu Institute for East Asian Studies on campus that actually paid for her to, over the holiday break of her first year on campus, travel to China, participate in this program, have such a great experience, and then be able to kind of, add that to what she's learning in the classroom at Notre Dame to round out her major. So that she did that as a first-year student. You can definitely be involved right away on Notre Dame's campus. Because we're so undergraduate heavy, as you see by those stats, I'd say all of our opportunities on our campus are probably more accessible to undergraduates than even our graduate students, because Notre Dame is built for the undergraduate experience. So that's one of my great ones. But even just someone from the state of Missouri actually was doing these great projects her first year on campus.
Thank you, Zach. Another exciting opportunity are our programs through 2 of our centers in the United States. So depending on what it is you're studying and what your goals are for your education, you have the opportunity to consider studying at our Washington, D.C. center or our Notre Dame California Center, which is in the heart of Palo Alto. That's referred to as the Silicon Valley semester. So both of these programs are going to offer you the opportunity to do a 20-hour-a-week internship while also taking classes on site at various organizations and companies, and get really great networking opportunities with alumni because of the strength of the clubs that are in those areas of the country. So depending on what your path may be, that may be a really exciting opportunity for you. But you might also be someone that has a really global focus to what you want to study when you're at the university, and Notre Dame can certainly deliver. We're actually one of the leading universities in terms of the percentage of students who go abroad, because we make it really easy for you. All of your funding that you may be receiving from the university gets applied to the cost of your semester or your full year overseas, and all of your credits will transfer back seamlessly if you're doing a Notre Dame affiliated program. We have campuses in London, Dublin, Rome, and Jerusalem, and then we have partnerships with leading universities all around the world. In Beijing, it could be Peking University, it could be Sciences Po, it could be Oxford or Cambridge, it could be Pontificia in Chile, and the list goes on. So in your sophomore year, you would then apply to go abroad in your junior year. I know, Molly, you are thinking about studying abroad. Do you want to share your experiences?
Sorry, I always forget to do that. So yeah, I'm in the middle of the application process right now. On the Notre Dame Study Abroad website, which you can Google, it's really accessible. It has all the programs listed, and it has whether they're offering a fall semester, a spring semester, or in my case, a summer course that's like a program in and of itself. And it's really accessible, but it's also like they kind of cater to your needs as a student. Basically, I'm applying to programs in Dublin and Paris. And I was actually thinking of doing like this Milan 10-day business program as well for Mendoza. And then I was talking to an advisor, and they actually told me you can do more than one. So you could do the 10 days in Milan and then go from there and go to Paris for 6 weeks to study whatever you want to study in Paris. So you can really kind of like build your own abroad experience. The people over in the abroad department are so helpful. They're always ready to Zoom in on a meeting with you if you need them. So yeah, we're all just kind of hoping that abroad gets up and running this summer so that we can all like continue the Notre Dame tradition of like having a lot of people go abroad. So I'm excited.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And now I'm going to turn it over to Zach.
Got it. And so one of the things about Notre Dame is, yes, you're going to have a great time here at Notre Dame. Preston and Molly are more than happy to share anything about their kind of student experience, and you're going to have a great time while you're here. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that we are preparing you for what's coming next. And so you'll see every year we have that 98 or 99% placement rate within 6 months of graduation, full-time employment, full-time service opportunities, graduate school, the military, etc. Really making sure that we help get you where you want to go. One of the great ways that we do this is through academic advising for those who are considering pre-professional routes. So for example, law school or med school, dental, veterinary, all of that. We have a pre-professional studies major that's kind of the pre-med at Notre Dame, but that would also be pre-dental, pre-health. But then there's also even the Center for Health Sciences Advising at Notre Dame that actually is specifically geared to help you get advising help if you're looking at going into med school. Nationally, the placement rate into med school is a little over 40%. At Notre Dame, that's 87%. If you're looking to go into law school, we have a 92% placement rate into law school, and that's without even having a pre-law major. We want you to study what you love, get some great advising from our pre-law center, as well as juniors and seniors in your dorm who have gone through that same process, and be able to be ready to go onto those further steps in your educational journey. So. We also do have 270 alumni clubs worldwide. There is the Endy Club of St. Louis. I worked very closely for a couple of years with the Endy Club of Denver, which actually has 3,000 members in the kind of Front Range area in Colorado. Many of them are going to be in areas that you want to be professional, or that you are professionally and that you want to network with. That's great. That's a great opportunity for you. But also, they're going to host game watches. They're going to host student send-offs. They're going to be a social network for you. You may move to Denver and not know anyone and say, hey, I've got a job here. Where should I live? And that's a great question that the Notre Dame Club of Denver is going to be able to help you with. And that happens all over all over the country and all over the world. We actually have double any other, or that 270 alumni club number is double any other college or university in the United States. So we take our alumni network very seriously. Notre Dame alumni will go out of their way to help you. And one of the great ways that they do that is by partnering with our Center for Career Development. Preston, I know you're kind of exploring that now as a sophomore and getting your feet wet there. Do you want to share your experiences?
Sure, definitely. Yeah, so this year, obviously I'm looking for an internship for next summer to kind of get my feet wet with career development. And so at the very beginning of this year, I was able to meet one-on-one with a career counselor and discuss a little bit about where I wanted to end up next summer, and also about career discernment, as well as just resources that are available from ND. And I think ND does a great job of providing each student with exactly whatever they need. It's very personalized. It's a very personalized experience, and each career counselor is very willing and ready to help each person that comes through their office. And so I've been able to get my resume reviewed. I've been able to reach out through the university's career development website, which is Handshake. And I've been looking at some really cool opportunities for next summer.
All right. And yeah, thanks, Preston. And that Handshake tool, like Notre Dame, like alumni can post jobs and internship opportunities directly to this tool. So not only can they help, connect and mentor, but they could even potentially provide some job and internship opportunities in addition to the great fall, winter, and spring career fairs and internship fairs that we host right on our campus as well. Our Center for Career Development is actually the largest in the United States. It is the entirety of the 5th floor of Duncan Student Center, which is attached to our football stadium. Sorry, Mary. So we can literally say our Center for Career Development is as long as our football field. So really, we're going to take that, those next steps very seriously. We want you to enjoy Notre Dame. We want you to use all the resources Notre Dame has, and then we want you to keep drawing on those resources the entire time, the rest of your life when you're a part of that Notre Dame family.
And part of that experience at Notre Dame is also engaging with the local community. Notre Dame is adjacent to the city of South Bend, but we're in sort of this tri-city area that also involves a city called Mishawaka and a city called Granger. And we're part of this larger metropolitan area called Michiana because we're right on the border with Michigan, and obviously we're in Indiana. So students can really take advantage of all the resources that are available to them. And I know that a lot of students' life can revolve largely around campus and the Notre Dame bubble per se, but there's also plenty of restaurants, cultural opportunities, festivals, parks, natural parks and beauty in terms of the river that runs through the downtown area of South Bend, as well as really great neighborhoods to hang out in, and just a strong sense of pride in the community. Zach, do you want to share what it was for you when you came to Notre Dame from where you come from in the US?
Yeah. So I'm originally from just outside of Bozeman, Montana, this little town called Belgrade. It's about 10,000 people in total. That makes it the 8th largest city in the state of Montana. So I certainly don't come from the middle of nowhere, but I can get there pretty quickly. And I absolutely love the city of South Bend. I think all told in the Michiana area, there's between 300,000 and 400,000 people. So you're going to have all the resources you need. There are multiple Walmarts, multiple Targets. And I say that as someone who's like, there are three Targets in the state of Montana. So having 2 in a city is no. But no, there's a great art museum downtown South Bend. If you're a car, love cars at all, Studebaker was actually all made in South Bend. There's a great museum there. The Morris Performing Arts Center downtown has all sorts of great either concerts and musicals that come through all the time. So it's a really good art scene, and I really enjoy South Bend as well. It's all very accessible. You have Uber, Lyft, all those great things, and students will go out and take advantage of the many great offerings that South Bend does have. So absolutely love it. But Mary?
Yeah, and I was just going to share that for those of you who are coming from the great state of Missouri to campus, I myself am from Alton, Illinois, right on the river there. So it's an easy drive, and it'll be easy for mom and dad to come and visit you, come for football games, take you out to dinner, which is always a treat. And I know our two students also enjoy that like really easy drive home. So just know that we're really well placed. And then again, we're only 2 hours from Chicago. I moved to South Bend after having been living in Dubai. And while it is not a big city like Dubai, I definitely know I can get what I need from the community. And then I always have Chicago nearby, or I can drive down and be in St. Louis.
Yeah, and so the last kind of slide we wanted to leave you with before we get to the Q&A portion is this shot of singing the alma mater after a football game. And when we were kind of doing our practice or just kind of talking through this presentation with the Preston and Molly before, I remember Molly kind of had like a little bit of pain reaction because unfortunately we can't have this this full football stadium this year. But while certainly football is going to be a part of student life at the university, we have won 11 national championships. If you forget that stat, don't worry, you will hear it all the time here on campus. But it's also just the way that the Notre Dame family gets to come together and celebrate, whether it's football games, whether it's the successes of the basketball teams or the hockey team that Molly's also kind of a part of as a student manager. There's a lot of great ways for you to be a part of the Notre Dame family, even if you don't like football. My roommate was the drum major for the Band of the Fighting Irish. He was the guy in white who leads the band onto the football field. He was the first person on the football field on game days, which was really cool. He's also the person who, he's like, oh, the game starts at halftime when the band gets to perform. He doesn't really care about football, but it's still such an event and a place for the community to come together and be a part of this Notre Dame family. And we want to make sure that, yes, you're going to come here and get a great education. Yes, you're going to come here and be prepared and be able to follow your passions. But at the same time, we also want students who are going to be a part of that mission of Notre Dame to be this global force for good in the world and be a place that is making change and bettering communities and not just making an impact to make an impact or to improve your own life, but really figuring out how can I improve the lives of others? How can I make these communities that I am a part of a better place? And that is something that's the hallmark of a Notre Dame education. I think is the hallmark of a Notre Dame student who comes to the university. That's always what we're looking for in applications. And I would say that it's just such a great community and a family. And I realize it all sounds cheesy. I get it. But it's also absolutely true. And football is one of those great ways that it's demonstrated very tangibly, but it's something that you will experience every day as a Notre Dame student, as a Notre Dame graduate.
Thank you for that, Zach. I'm going to go ahead and end the share so that we can move into talking about the application process and the deadlines, as well as financial aid and merit scholarships. And then we'll move into kind of our Q&A. So in terms of the application process, I will kind of give you sort of the bare bones and kind of give you an overview of the review process. And then Zach will walk you through the deadlines as well as moving into talking about financial aid. And then I'll touch on the merit scholarships and then we'll go to Q&A. But just in terms of applications, we accept the common application, the coalition application, and the QuestBridge application. Any one of those is fine. And we are, for this year, we are test optional in terms of SAT and ACT scores. It's a pilot program, so we're waiting to see if that will continue after this year. But for those of you who are applying this year, please know it is completely your choice whether or not to send those test scores. And we have always done a very holistic review of applications, which means all parts of your application have had significance to us in our decision making, and that doesn't go away even if you don't have a score. We will look at all parts of that application with or without the test score. And we also know this has been a bit of a disruptive year or so for you because of the pandemic, and we are very mindful in our review of your academic performance as well as your extracurricular activities. So we're really looking to see what is the rigor of the classes that you've been taking, the kind of preparation you've been giving yourself to be successful at a university as rigorous as Notre Dame. We're also going to look at your recommendation letters from your teacher and possibly also your counselor to just give us insight into how you have been as a student, what your potential for success is, and how you will progress as a member of our community from how you've already been within your community. We're also going to be looking at your essays. Notre Dame does not do interviews as part of their application process. So your essays are really the best way for you to give a more individual voice to your application and share with us things that matter to you and the things that inspire you and how you envision things playing forward for you at the university and beyond. So we really hope the questions we're offering you, one which is required, which is a variation on why Notre Dame, and then a selection of 5 that you choose two. We really hope that at least 2, if not more, jump out at you and inspire you in terms of the answers that come forth in your heart as you're looking at those. And then I'm gonna turn it over to Zach to talk about the deadlines.
Yeah, so Notre Dame has restrictive early action, which is November 1st, and regular decision, which is January 1st. Restrictive early action is not binding. The restrictive piece is if you're applying to another school's binding early decision program. We just ask that you wait to apply regular decision to Notre Dame. It does not matter to us when you apply. We would rather see your best application and let you put your best foot forward, whatever that means to you. So if it's October 31st, you're trying to rewrite an essay, trying to get 2 friends to look at it, get some more feedback on something else on your application, that's probably a good sign that you could just wait and apply regular decision and take those extra 2 months to make your application better. We really want to make sure that we are getting kind of your best application, because that is also, as Mary will touch on, your application for all of our merit scholarships as well. If you apply restrictive early action, you can hear from us mid to late December. Regular decision, January 1st, will be kind of mid to late March. So that's a little bit about the deadlines, kind of how that works. But the bigger thing is put your best foot forward at Notre Dame. Don't try and rush to meet a deadline. We want to see your best application.
Great, thank you so much, Zach. I also want to talk about the financial aid process at Notre Dame. Would you care to walk us through that, Zach?
Yep, sorry, totally. So at Notre Dame, there are 2 terms that you should really know. One is we are need blind, which is not that we're callous and don't have hearts or anything like that. It's that we read your application without knowing your family's financial situation. Your family's ability or inability to pay does not factor into our decision-making process. So basically, we are not looking at whether your family can afford Notre Dame, because what then happens is if we accept you and you fill out your financial aid application, which is the FAFSA, if you can fill that out, as well as the CSS profile, which is run by College Board, we then promise to meet 100% of your family's demonstrated financial need. That is just for getting into the university. Actually, for students who demonstrated need in this incoming class right now, who are current first years at Notre Dame, the median need-based university scholarship that they received just for getting into Notre Dame and filling out those applications was $47,800. So yes, Notre Dame does have that high sticker price. You can certainly see that. Our financial aid website also has 2 really great tools, one called My Intuition, one the net price calculator tool that basically every university across the country is required to have. They can give you some great estimates of what a financial aid package might look like for you and your family. And I would highly encourage you to just explore that financial aid website a little bit to get to know what Notre Dame really can do for you and your family financially.
Thanks, Zach. Also, in terms of merit scholarships, the way we approach merit might be different from the way other universities that you're looking at are approaching it. So it's important to understand what the differences may be if you're hopeful for merit. At Notre Dame, all students at the time of their application will be assessed for merit. If you become a semifinalist, you will be contacted by our Notre Dame Scholars Office, who will reach out and ask for additional materials. And then from there, if you become a finalist, you'll then interview for the scholarships for which you're being considered. Ultimately, it is a very selective process. So know that only about 3% of incoming students receive the merit-based aid. However, as Zach has alluded, a very large number of our students are getting need-based scholarships and grants through their financial aid package. And now I think what we'll do is we'll open it up for questions. I see we do have some questions in the Q&A, and we'll have our students also be involved in the process. So one of the questions that we have here is, do you have to be Catholic in order to go to Notre Dame? And I'll give that one to Zach, and I see Preston raised his hand too, so both of you guys can address that question.
Yeah, this is a great question. Although about 80% of our student body does identify as Catholic, on their application, you do not have to be Catholic to come to Notre Dame and have a fulfilling experience. I am not Catholic. I'm not actually even really a person of faith, but Notre Dame was an incredibly important piece of my kind of journey of figuring out what kind of person do I want to be, what kind of morals and ethics, and how do I want to see the world, and what do I believe. And that all happens very organically at Notre Dame. I would also go to dorm masses just because they were such a great piece of the community. I really enjoyed Knott Hall's kind of quasi orchestra that we had, which included bongos, occasionally ukulele, and some other great instruments. So it's also a great way to engage in that, even if you're not necessarily Catholic or even that person of faith. But Preston?
Yeah, so I'm actually non-denominational Christian, and last year I was involved with an organization on campus called Iron Sharpens Iron, which is actually a non-denominational, not even strictly Christian service. And so I was able to meet a lot of other people that had similar backgrounds to myself, while also still being able to engage with the Carroll Hall community by going to Mass and by exploring through the Notre Dame theology courses as well.
Yeah, and we do have an outstanding campus ministry department that caters to people of all faiths. We have a Muslim Student Association, Jewish Student Association, other associations, and interfaith events and retreats throughout the year. So even if you're not Catholic, but you want to be, asking these bigger questions, Notre Dame's a great place for you to do that.
Great, thank you both for sharing. We also, we're getting some questions about activities, and one of them was centering on, speech and debate, but maybe we can also speak to the larger sort of performing arts opportunities at Notre Dame. So I guess I'll give a little bit on background on that. Zach, do we have a speech and debate team? And then I'll talk about performing arts. Oh, Molly.
Yes, sorry. I actually do know we do have a debate team, and that debate team actually won the ACC for 2019. So not only do we have one, but they seem like they're pretty darn good. Also, like I don't know if Zach said it earlier, but there's like an obscene amount of clubs for like literally everything that you want to do on campus. I'm not on the speech team or the debate team. I'm on mock trial, which is kind of similar, but a little bit, it has like a law spin and like a little bit of an acting spin. So it's really fun. And yes, short answer, yes. Long answer, even if you try it and you don't like it, there will be something that you will like that has something to do with it. So yes.
Yeah, and we also have an MUN program at Notre Dame as well. And then more broadly, in terms of performing arts, which we did not go into too much detail, if you are very musically inclined, either instrumental or vocal, if you are theatrically inclined, even if you are very much into opera, Notre Dame is a great home for you. More than half of our students were involved in the fine and performing arts in high school. And so we have the country's oldest marching band, we have a great symphonic band, we have a number of ensembles, and then you can take classes in music, even if you are not a music major at Notre Dame. So you can definitely engage in that regard. If you are into vocal performance, there are a number of choirs and chorus, a cappella groups, great improv groups. Really, the sky is the limit in terms of how you might outreach. There's also a great open mic night. We have a new addition to campus called Library Lawn, and they've been having student performances on the stage there. So students are definitely engaging across the arts. And then in terms of theater and musical theater, we do have a minor in musical theater at Notre Dame. There are musical theatrical productions that get put on campus, including student organized ones. And then there's even a full-scale opera that the students produce. So you can get involved in that. And then as Zach alluded earlier, the Morris Performing Arts Center has a number of off-Broadway musicals that come through, plays, a cappella groups, concerts, ballet. So you can definitely find and get your fix here. Let's see.
Yeah, there's another question, Mary, about kind of what are broadcast journalism opportunities at Notre Dame, and it's kind of related because it's in a lot of that would be driven through the FTT department. Film, television, and theater is a department and a major at Notre Dame. You kind of pick one to actually kind of major in. The ND Studios, which is in the building on the east side of Notre Dame Stadium, actually employs students, and they actually produced the Notre Dame football game last week. So there are actually students who are helping produce Notre Dame football live across the country, to these millions of homes and viewers. And so it's really great opportunities. Students can also, actually practice, being broadcasters through the many Notre Dame kind of other sports at Notre Dame. I know friends who broadcast for soccer, for hockey, for lacrosse. So there's a lot of great opportunities on that end, as well as kind of the technical side with cameras and such as well. Almost all of our kind of non-major sporting events are filmed all by students and broadcast on networks like ESPN3. So absolutely.
Yeah. We did have another question regarding legacy admissions. And at Notre Dame, we do have a lot of students who have family ties to the university. For us, the definition of legacy would be through mom or dad. But we do have, students that have various family members that might have come through. But we also have a lot of new families that are forming at Notre Dame in terms of families that are new to the Notre Dame community. So we'd like to have a really great diversity of all types of students, and having, legacy behind you or family ties. While it's always great to see, because obviously you have some sense of who we are as an institution, it's still incumbent upon you to put forth a competitive application and be ready to be a great fit for the institution when we're assessing your application for admission. I wanted to ask our students a couple of questions before we close out. And one of them I think would be very helpful to everyone here in that what initially drew you to look at Notre Dame and then to choose us as your university? And I'll start with Molly and then move over to Preston.
Gosh, this is such a hard question. Because I had the privilege of coming to Notre Dame when I was growing up for football games and everything, because my dad went there. I've had a long line of men in my family go to this school, so it's kind of special for me to be the first female to do this. And, when you come as a kid, there's only so much that you can gather about a college campus, but I guess there was always just something that excited me because I didn't know exactly where I was going to end up, even if I came here to a place that felt like home. So I think my favorite thing about Notre Dame is that it really just gives you that homey feeling right away, but it also kind of leaves you guessing, and it leaves you with that space to explore all your passions, explore the things that you know absolutely nothing about. I'm a manager for the hockey team. I've never played hockey in my life. I've never managed a sport in my life. It's one of the most fun things that I do now. So yeah, it's the best place to try new things, and I love that kind of dual-sided nature of everything, and I'm so lucky to call it my home.
Yeah, and just going off of that home aspect, I would tie it back to what Zach said earlier about how the Notre Dame community is a big family. I think the main reason that I really chose Notre Dame was the fact that their residential life structure is just so unique. I know Zach didn't want to say it's unique earlier, but I will go ahead and say it's unique. I've lived in a dorm with only 102 guys. Got placed in a quad last year with 3 random guys that I had never met before, but we got along really well, and I'm living with 2 of them right now. And so just being able to be a part of those communities and really get to know other students that have different perspectives than you, and really get to know about all these people around the United States and around the world has just been the most incredible part for me being an ND student.
Thank you both so much. And then also, Preston, you want to start, and then Molly finish. What is one thing about Notre Dame that you feel the students that are joining us and their parents possibly should really understand about Notre Dame?
Yeah, sure. So I would say the availability of resources at the university is something that really stands out. I know, I guess people commonly tie or make a correlation between, oh, these big universities have all of these resources, whereas maybe a school like Notre Dame wouldn't have that. But you can look at the alumni and you can look at the resources that are available on campus, and everything that you would ever need for a great quality higher education is here on campus. And I really enjoy that.
Definitely. And, Preston talked a lot about availability. I'm going to talk about a different A word, which is accommodation. It's whatever you need, there's going to be someone that can get it to you. I was just talking about the Parisian study abroad thing that I'm thinking about doing. And I was like, oh, well, if I decide to do a degree in this other program, could the classes count towards that? And the lady literally told me, she was like, I mean, if you wanted to, so you can, you can really create your own adventure here. There's so many lines that you can draw for yourself. And that is a really it's a learning experience. It's definitely a place of higher education. You're going to have some obstacles and some boundaries, but you could not be in a better place to be facing those obstacles because of, not only the student body that's there for you, but the teachers and the faculty and all the other resources that you have available for you. So just accommodation and availability for sure.
Yeah, no, that I think those are both, both great ways. Availability, accommodation, resources, family. We are running low on time. I know it is. We got a strict 8:45 deadline. Thank you so much to Preston and Molly for coming out tonight. Thanks as well to Mary for coming out. I know we were not able to get to all the questions we had tonight. Thank you so much for that. Please feel free to email Mary and myself. We are more than happy to be resources for you. This is a crazy year. There are more important things than the college admissions process. While that is important, your health, your family, your mental well-being, that is all far more important. If Mary and I can do anything to kind of help you with this process, please do feel free to reach out, because we want to be resources and we want to walk with you on this journey.
Yes, and thank you all so much for coming and being open to learning about a fantastic university. And please be sure to check out our website for all of our virtual events and all of the additional resources that we have to offer you. Playing into what both of our students said, we really want to give you exactly what you need to help you along on this journey.
With that, I'm going to say a major thank you to both of our key presenters as well as our two students. Students, as this session ends, you're going to get a 4-question really quick survey on your exit. If you go ahead and give us some feedback on how this session worked out for you. Additionally, just a reminder, at moacac.org, you can both sign up for additional sessions. And if you want to go back and review any portion of today's session, the recording will be available in about a week. And with that, again, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Preston. And thank you, Molly. Everyone have a great night. Be safe, wash your hands, and wear your mask. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Go
Irish.
Thank you.